how the hell can I keep this video simple for new players if I'm making a guide video about Nahida? I'll just skip a couple of parts about Bloom and call it a day. Welcome back. Today we're doing a new player's guide with Nahida. Just like last time, I'm not going to be just talking about her gameplay and artifacts and fill you up with a bunch of useless information you won't even understand. Instead, I'll be listing off 5 categories throughout the video, with the side of visual eye candy to keep you engaged. With all that finished, we can move on to the categories: basics, weapons, artifacts, team comps, and investment. Also, all 5 of these categories begin ranked from S to D tier once we reach the investment section of the video. It's just something to look forward to, and honestly, some of you already know where she's getting placed. Okay, look. Explaining Nahida to a new player is like telling a newborn baby how a neutron star is. So, I'll be dumbing down a lot, and I mean a lot, of Nahida's kit so new players can understand how she works. Starting with not her normal attacks, because you're never going to use her normal attacks unless you're dicking around with your friends or killing said friends. No. We're going straight to her main ability that you'll be spamming into every fight you get into. Say hello to all segments to know, one of the most broken abilities in the entire game, while also being one of the most confusing abilities to dissect. So I'll be drawing and showing gameplay to help you understand this thing. Segments has 2 ways of applying this ability: press and hold. We're going to immediately skip press because hold is the only thing you should be doing with this. When you hold your ability, you'll be put into aim mode. It just means you're able to select your enemies and apply Dendro onto them. The ability also reapplies Dendro over time onto your enemies, so you don't have to constantly swap in and out of Nahida to apply it again. Oh, by the way, all the enemies that you selected will be linked together. Basically, when one of the linked enemies take elemental damage or from a Dendro core, everyone else will take that same damage as well. It's a little confusing, but once you use it in-game, you'll understand what I mean. Oh, something you should know about is the ability has a cooldown of 5 seconds and a duration of 25 seconds, meaning the ability has infinite uptime. Say, if any of you have heard of Nahida Infinity, it's an infinite looping album that plays 9 linked songs together, and once it reaches the 9th track, it goes back to the beginning. I highly recommend you check out this album. I really love the idea of this infinite looping album that never ends. You might not like it, but the album really sticks onto you once you get the idea. Okay, getting back on topic though, telling a new player how Nahida works is like telling a newborn baby how a neutron star is created. Wait a minute. Another thing you should know about is her ability scales of attack and EM. More EM and attack equals a stronger elemental reaction and better damage. For the long answer on how the ability actually works, no. Moving on to the burst, we have the Illusory Heart. Holy crap, this thing goes so hard! Activating Nahida's burst will summon a shrine around the field. This said shrine will provide buffs to your entire team, and depending on your party, these buffs can be changed or mixed how you set up your team. Having 1 or 2 pyro characters on your team will increase their damage. For hydro characters, they increase the burst duration. Having 1 or 2 electric characters, they do this. I'll be honest here, I did my research on this thing, I still don't know what the hell it does. If you're ever struggling with low EM for your Nahida, you won't have to worry as much because of her passives. Essentially, you get a free 250 EM whenever you activate Nahida's burst, which runs well with her second passive, Awakening. This will mean if you have more than 200 EM, your skill will do more damage in simplified terms, so rack up as much EM as you can. Say, here's a fun fact for you. Did you know there are currently 36 cowlers, 29 polearms, 36 bows, 35 claymores, and 38 swords currently in the game at the time of making this script? So much variety and experimentation, and yet everyone uses the same weapons, and for some reason they keep putting ER and EM onto every 4-star claymore that releases these days. Like seriously, ho-ho, who the hell is gonna use this shit? If you're wondering what weapon you should be using for Nahida, I'm just gonna cut to the chase. It's Floating Dreams. Man, who would ever guess a signature weapon made for a 5-star is always the best weapon to use? Okay, maybe not always. I won't be talking about this weapon straight away because I got a list to go through first, so Metaslaves and Whales, you can wait for a while. Alright, capiche? Okay, let's cut to the chase what weapons you should be using. New players. The weapons that you should be using temporarily is the Emerald Orb and the Magic Guide. And both of these can be just found lying around in the chest, so you probably have one in your inventory right now if you have a look. It doesn't matter what weapon you use because both of these get the job done in the early game, well, until you receive a better weapon, which for my free to plays out there, you will be using Widsith, Sacrificial Fragment, Wandering Everstar, and Mappa Mare. It really doesn't matter which one you equip because being honest here, none of these weapons are exactly better or worse than each other, they're all on equal footing. It really just depends how you want to play Nahida, honestly. Here, let's just take tier 2 for an example and use the Soldier. The Soldier's weapons are all viable, and depending on your playstyle, you can be better with one or be bad at the other. Let's take the stock Rocket Launcher, the Direct Hit, and the Beggar's Bazooka. All three have very different stats from each other, but they're all viable weapons, but they have very different playstyles from each other, and the same logic applies in Genshin as well. Widsith isn't a bad weapon on Nahida just because there's a low chance of receiving EM from it, and Sacrificial isn't a bad weapon on Nahida just because it doesn't give crit. Both are completely viable weapons on Nahida, it just depends how you want to play her. For the pay-to-play players out there, you will be looking for 1000 Dreams, aka Nahida's signature weapon. One of her best weapons to have on her, and it's currently on the weapon banner right now, so you should probably try and get... Wow, that's some poor timing. Guess you're just gonna have to sell on Kagura and Solar Pearl until it returns, which would be next year or 8 months. You got a year to save up on Primos and your ass is probably still gonna fail. Farm Deepwood, at least that's what the funny icon tells me. Gonna be honest here, there isn't that much I need to explain about this set, so I'm just gonna cut to the chase. Essentially, the artifact provides increased Dendro damage, and when your skill or burst hits an enemy, they'll lose 30% of their Dendro resistance. Not the best way of explaining it, but in a nutshell, you're just doing more damage. As for the main stats and substats, you will be going for and that's basically it. You want me to be completely honest with you? Nahida essentially has infinite potential, and the newer releases only prove that more and more. I could tell you the meta teams and the best builds with Nahida, instead I'll be shedding a different light on this character. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is, it doesn't matter what team comp I tell you, because it's immediately going to become irrelevant the moment a new character from these 4 elements releases. Remember how I've said Nonagon Infinity is an infinite looping album? Well, that's basically how I could describe Nahida team comps. Completely infinite with no sign of it ending at all. Let's just make up a random team. Nahida, Xingqiu, Kale, Raiden. Is it practical? Not really. Do I have any idea how this team plays in game? Not a single clue, but I know it's gonna get you through the game. Here's another one. Beidou, Nahida, Kokomi, Yelan. Or how about this one? Barbara, Nahida, Fischl, Thoma. Are any of these teams actually good? Probably not, but it doesn't matter how many times you change the team comp, because as long as your party has Nahida and 3 of the characters or at least 4 of these elements, you're gonna have a serviceable team to get you through the entire game. Because remember, Genshin isn't a hard game to get into. You could have the most fucked build in Genshin, and you could still beat the game with just that. Like, look at challenge videos. The hardest part is getting the character, then actually beating the game. As for why you need a team with these 4 elements when Nahida is in your party, it's pretty simple. The reaction bloom. As for how I can explain it simply for new players is a question on its own. So I'm just gonna draw it and show some forms of gameplay to explain it. So Dendro has multiple reactions, and they only get more complex as you look deeper into it. Dendro and Pyro causes burning. Electro and Dendro causes quicken and aggravate. But if you do Dendro and Hydro, it creates a Dendro core, and these things have their own reactions to them. Dendro cores and Electro causes Hyper Bloom, and Dendro cores and Pyro causes Burgeon, and if you do neither, they just blow up. Am I gonna go further in detail with this? God no, this is the basics on how this reaction works. Do you think a new player even understands the beginning of it? Okay, we're getting a little off topic, but I'll be listing off a couple of characters you should be looking out for in your playthrough. You don't actually have to get these people, I'm just suggesting stuff. For the 4 stars, Kuki, Toma, Kole, Xingqiu, Beidou, and Dendro MC. And for the 5 stars, it's Ye, Miko, Kokomi, all hail from Sino, Nuvalet, Xingqiu, Raiden, and Child. Are any of these characters actually useful or meta? Well, practically all of them have their uses. Yes, even you. But in the end, it doesn't matter at all. So go ahead and experiment with her. Make a really dumb team comp that will make the meta players hate you. We finally made to the investment section of the video, and after going through nearly everything about Nahida, where do you think she is getting ranked? Honestly, y'all already know. Same with her first roadblock, which is getting her? Wait, seriously? That's it? What about her cons?
She doesn't need them.
Alright, she doesn't need them. You might have noticed I haven't talked about Nahida's constellations throughout this video, and there's a good reason why I haven't done that yet. Nahida doesn't need her constellations. Here, let's use Noelle for an example of why I talked about her constellations in her guide video, and why I'm not for Nahida. To even start building Noelle, you need her at C6, and everyone will tell you about this. This is like a staple of a character. But for Nahida, why the fuck would you tell a new player that Nahida is only good at Constellation 6? You wouldn't. Nahida's constellations are objectively an upgrade, that's something you have to get to fully complete her character, unlike some in the game. That's the difference between these two. Plus, I just don't want to. And for her kit and abilities, Nahida's kit is an S tier. There is no downsides to this thing. Out of any character in Genshin, Nahida definitely has the most variety of weapons you can choose from, with all of them nearly being all on par with each other. Unlike other characters that are usually stuck with one weapon throughout their life cycle, Nahida can choose freely from a variety of weapons and still be useful with it. And this speaks with all types of players, by the way. New players, free-to-players, pay-to-plays. It doesn't matter how far you're in the game, because you can pick from any weapon you want for Nahida and you won't be completely punished for it, unlike some other characters. And while yes, most of the best weapons are behind banners, you can still stay on par with the craftable ones, like, oh, look, it's Mappa Mare, a weapon you can craft immediately at the beginning of the game. And hey, it's also on par with Sacrificial, Widsith, and Wandering Everstar. If only if it was just as easy for the pay-to-play players. Oh well, you got Solar Pearl to keep you company until those 2 weapons return. In 8 months. Not really a fan of the ratio we got going on here, but it's good enough in my books. Anyways, hey dear, the only downside is waiting on the wishes, and that's kinda it. For the team category, S tier. For the talents, you can debate on how some character talents are more important than the other, or how one needs to be maxed out while all 3 should be maxed out. But Nahida really doesn't need to prioritize on one ability, or having to max out any of them to be completed. For an example being, me. See, I have an alloy with a maxed out burst talent, and you would think crowning her would make her super strong, right? Wrong. Even with the crown and build I made for her, she's still shit. And that's because Aloy's talents are high investment, 0 reward. Unlike Nahida, whose talents are low investment, high reward. Compare these two, who's actually getting better value out of their talent? The character who needs all their talents to be leveled up to perfection, or the person that requires little to no leveling at all? If you're wondering how much you should level up your Nahida's talents, I recommend going for an even level 5 talents for each slot. Do you actually have to do this? Not really. It's your choice. Anyways, S tier for the talents. For the artifacts, well, artifact. You only need to grind one domain, which I would take some points off if both artifacts you're grinding for didn't come from the same domain. Unlike other domains where you're looking for one artifact where the other half is, well, useless for you, you're actually going to get shit you want a lot quicker than usually. Is it going to get boring? Yes. Is it going to get repetitive? Yes. Are you going to get results fast? Yes. Oh well, S tier for the artifact section. And after combining the results, where do you think Nahida stands in this? It's an S tier. Who the fuck didn't see that one coming? Literally everything about this character is an S tier. Let me tell you right now, when Nahida is currently on the banner, get her. Don't worry about the other character because it doesn't matter because they're not here. There is no downsides from getting this character. Oh well, I guess that's everything you need to know.
Actually, you didn't talk about...
Personally, I wouldn't take a lot of the stuff I said as factual information, but hey, go out there, have fun playing Nahida. I'll be here cleaning up this mess. What the hell should I review next? Yeah, I'll figure it out. Later, gang.